And hold on a
I
minute,
agree.
because someone asked, did Kanye say something wrong?
Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics with the KKK to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who the people known as the race Black really are. This is who our people are, the blood of Christ. This, as a Christian, is my belief. And I believe that if we saw ourselves as more biting my tongue on my political opinion because I thought it would be better for my children. And now you look up and my kids are going to a school that teaches Black kids a complicated Kwanzaa. I prefer my kids knew Hanukkah than Kwanzaa. At least it will come with some financial engineering. Kwanzaa doesn't, so they don't teach even.
Did he say anything? Did he say anything wrong? I think. Do me a favor, Tim. I think dispensational Tim is saying this to you, Slim. I think type of one, dispensational Tim, type of one in the comment section. I think you're saying this to Slim.
Real quick about Kanye, he didn't say anything that justifies trying to harm him financially. That's what I would say. He may have said things that people can disagree with, but none of that justifies trying to go after him financially.
Right, he didn't deserve what they did to him. I think that.
Well, they just chose not to have, and probably from pressure from so many other people, they just chose not to. They don't want his money anymore. They don't want to take his money. They want him to come get his money, and they don't want to deal with him no more dealing business.
Well, I think with those celebrities, they're stuck under a different type of umbrella. They're stuck in their own spiritual system. They got a lot going on when it comes to these athletes and these movie stars and the music industries. These industries got a lot of things going on, and there are people in high places behind the scenes who happen to be Jewish, right? Who own the majority of the music industry. So he's under people. He has to answer to people. You know what I'm saying? He's got to speak what he's allowed to speak, and when he starts stepping away from that, they're gonna slap him on the wrist. They're gonna punish him in some way, shape, or form. So I think that's just a slap on the wrist but that's talking about a whole different thing. That ain't talking about, even though he's trying to say things about the Bible, this ain't about the Bible with them. They're on a whole.
What he told that. So you say there's no biblical connection with what he's saying and what's going on.
No, because he's just trying to. It sounds like he's regurgitating information, and he's probably identifying or trying to. He's trying to do research on it, because see how I know he's not familiar with it. He said the 12 tribes of Judah.
Yes,
there is no 12 tribes of Judah.
Said multiple times. Yeah, he don't know. He was a bit confused.
There's no 12 tribes of Judah. There's 12 tribes of Israel broken up into two houses. And there's a northern and southern kingdom, but he's not up to date on that. He don't really know all that. So it lets me know he's just regurgitating information that he's probably coming across. But that's the thing right now, is that Hebrew Israelite movement is starting to spiderweb into the music industry. It's starting to spiderweb into sports. So a lot of these athletes like Kyrie Irving and these guys, right? They're all starting to connect to this stuff, because this what's a nice way to say it?
Awakening.
This so-called awakening is starting to touch people, because they're using the emotional trigger of racial identification to draw people to the word. But they're bringing them to a dead letter, because they're not being drawn in by the spirit. They're being drawn in by the flesh. And so even if, let's just say, even if all of Israel was Black and that was a fact, you cannot come into the presence of God through the flesh. You just can't. He has to be worshiped in spirit. You have to dedicate your life to him in spirit, not in flesh. And so if you build up a self-righteousness based upon the fact that you feel like you're somehow connected to God in more ways or in a more special way than the rest of the world, then you're going to make yourself prone to becoming like arrogant and cocky. And God said and warned against that in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? To be highly minded and stiff-necked is not a good thing. You know what I mean? And that's because you're displacing your faith. You're displacing your faith. in the same way now that people were displacing their faith back then. And that's
But wait a minute. But you did say something about the Jewish people and Sister Lita and a lot of people agree with you. But you did say something about the Jewish people and the music industry and how they're strong in the music industry. But that sounds like that fits some of what people would call a conspiracy, and they would have biblical references to that.
Well, see, that what they don't understand. Well, that's just people that's not in those. That's just people who's not knowledgeable of those circles. I mean, they're not supposed to be. So that's a good thing. But if you're not knowledgeable of those circles, that's a good thing. But those circles are real. I could tell you firsthand. You know what I mean? Those circles are real. You know that they took the Bible that we read and made their own Bible out of that. Like, there's a whole thing connected to that, bro. And I don't want to turn your channel into that whole kind of conversation. But if you do the research, you can find out exactly how it is and how it goes down. But like I said, I don't want to disrespect your channel and make that the conversation. But I'm just telling you right now, sports, music, Hollywood, they got people they have to answer to, bro. They're not giving all those millions of dollars away without somebody having to answer. You know what I mean? You got people you have to answer to, and that is a fact. You know what I mean? Now, there's a lot of exaggeration, and there's a lot of falsehoods, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories that might come out of that, but it doesn't mean that there's not things going on that are really real. There's even churches, religious groups that are connected to this stuff. So, and if you're not in that circle, that's a good thing. If you've never been in that, that's a beautiful thing, because that's a spiritual system that they're under. And
okay, hold on a second.
Into it, but I don't want
to. No, I understand. Hold on a second, because I'm thinking everyone has handles. Honestly, say, hold on, Dunamis. Minister, come to the microphone. Who are you? What are your thoughts?
I'm just sitting here listening to y'all. I got a couple of things to say, but last night I was reading in Isaiah 44 and 4 and 5, verses 4 and 5, and it says, "And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the water courses. One shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and surname himself by the name of Israel." And it kind of gives place to all these different lands. Like, you have those who of late is claiming Israel. You have those who they like the Christians or whatever, right? It's saying to name both of these people in that particular scripture right there in 5, verse 5. The next thing I want to say is that what Kanye said about the 12 tribes of Judah, right? We all know that, especially from reading the book, that it's Israel. But when Berean was just talking, he was talking about, or not Berean, but the other guy, I forget who it was. They were talking about people taking the book and making a whole nother book out of what was originally there. Could it be possible that in the two kingdoms, in the northern and southern kingdom, that Judah itself might have had 12 tribes, and that could have been changed? If people think that something has been changed in the book.
That there were really 12 tribes from Judah alone?
Alone, yes. Is it possible? It's just a thought. I understand that it is 12 tribes of Israel according to the book, but could it be something that's not in the book that was taken from the book or was not recorded? Is it possible?
Well,
if we arguing from silence, almost anything could be possible. I believe what y'all got to say. I'm stepping away, but I'm gonna turn my thing up.
Well, the thing is, man, with Jacob had 12 sons, and each tribe was named after one of his 12 sons. That's what the original 12 tribes, that's how it was established. And then what happened was there was a civil war, basically, where a king rose up in Israel that a number of the other tribes, they did not agree with. There was like a disagreement between who they wanted their king to be. There was a division that took place. There was a northern and a southern kingdom that was established. There was two kings at one point, and the I think it was the northern kingdom was the 10 tribes, and the southern kingdom was 2 tribes, actually, with the priesthood attached to it. So there was like a remnant of the Levites. Part of the Levite tribe was held down with the other 2, and that's how all that stuff was established. So when they refer to the 12 tribes, they're speaking of all of Israel. And then when they refer to the house of Jacob, you know, that's all of Israel. But when they say like when they say something like what's one of the, there's like different names they'll use. They'll say like the house of Manasseh, right? And they'll say something like the house. What's the other one? There's like the house of there's the house of Israel. That's the 10 tribes, right? And the house of Jacob, I think, is 2 or 3 tribes. But there's like they'll say the house of such and such, and that's how you'll know that they're referring to a specific, the north or the south. You know what I mean? The house of such and such. And so that's where all that comes from. That's pretty much the extent that I can kind of break that down. I don't know if Darby or somebody else can give it a little bit more detail than that.
No, come on, Dunamis.
Yeah, hold on. I saw the last comment from Tim. How Tim gonna bang on Augustine when Augustine's supposed to be the father of Calvinism? That's how that's the guy that used to go back to support their claims on predestination, all that kind of stuff. That's something else. But to the point, I think so. You're talking about Rehoboam, Jeroboam. Rehoboam became king. The taxes were heavy, and he still wanted to do the heavy taxes.
And so the heavy labor, the hard labor.
Yeah, Jeroboam came out from Egypt, and then he became king of the 10 tribes. They fought and divided themselves, the northern and southern kingdom.
Right.
But I just take it as he might be new to information biblically, and he just misspoke. Yes. He don't have the precept package down yet.
Yeah, that could be it too.
He been saying it,
but
usually when they say Buddha,
hold on a minute. The question is, Dunamis, did he say anything wrong? We were trying to pick up. I said who was on. Orthodox more jumped on last, and I said I was going to pick up from here. Fervent Charity was sleeping. I said I didn't even want to ring. I didn't want to hit his jack and wake him up. The question from what Kanye said, people are asking in here because sometimes people would email and say, well, after the talk, y'all didn't really hit on certain questions. Y'all did not hit on things that I wanted to hit on that we thought we were going to hit on. Our conversation got carried away a little bit. Did Kanye West say anything wrong? Roger asked, where did this Black Hebrew Israelite conspiracy theory start? You want to pick it up from there? I see more.
You said that question was posed to me yesterday. Is that what you said?
No, we yesterday we started it, but I had to go. I got to go like another 10, 15 minutes, something like that. But I wanted to pick it up. We kind of started by picking it up from there. That's why I wanted to remind Dunamis. Honestly, was on. Dunamis was on. Orthodox more came on. Who else? Judarized. Who else was on yesterday? I forget. But go ahead, Dunamis. If not, Orthodox more. Come on to the microphone.
You gonna go Dunamis or no?
No, go ahead. Go ahead more. Go ahead first.
Yeah, peace and blessings to the panel and whatnot. 100%. Kanye said a lot of stuff that was wrong, right? And wrong in the sense that he's a public figure and a lot of people watch what he says. And he brought a lot of information out that was not factually correct. He brought a lot of tropes out that weren't correct and whatnot. And a lot of people are going to take that stuff and run with it emotionally and not fact check it because there's nothing to fact check. He's not making it important to fact check things.
Go ahead, talk about it. You got good. I'm moving around, but you like which ones exactly? What would you say exactly? Because clearly you believe it's kind of dangerous what he did by jumping on there saying that, being such a public figure.
Yeah, first of all, he racialized the whole thing, right? Like, so I agree with the boo 100%. Like, so whether you're talking about like the Israel of God or even the nation of Israel itself in the Old Testament, right? Being a believer had nothing to do with race, ever. It has to do with like you willing to cling to the ways of the Most High. However you see the New Testament, Old Testament, etc. Right? That's not a racial thing. There's never been a racial benchmark to meet with that concept, right? The concept of like the black people in America are the tribe of Judah or the 12 tribes of Israel, however you want to look, like that concept right there is again, it's this Negro-centric focus to where it doesn't match the scriptures in any way, shape, or form. But B, it's this we're the real Jews, and then there's these fake Jews concept, right? And it's the
beef, right? That's the beef right there to you that they want to claim who's fake.
That's
I think it's two different things. You could claim to be, anybody could claim to be Israel if you want to claim to be you Israel, but when you start claiming this, that other people are fake.
Facts. And it's at the expense of, like, I gotta be real at the expense of you being fake. That's a huge deal, fam. Like that's a non-starter for me. Right? That's not necessary. Like, so imagine people in Africa was talking about, like, yeah, I can be Nigerian, but you can't be African, you African Americans. Y'all aren't part of the thing, you know what I'm saying? Y'all are fake Africans. We'd be beefing in a heartbeat. But on the other hand, I can, like, if he came out and said, you know what, I was looking at some history books, and I was looking into genetics, and I was looking at all kind into cultural practices, and I'm finding out that there's some people that came off the slave ship that were related to tribes that were making claims of being Israelites, etc. And we're connected to those people, and we should connect to those cultures and build on culture and accept our cultures and live our culture as a people versus living a westernized culture that we were handed down, etc. I would have had total respect for that. That you can verify those things. Do you know what I'm saying? What he was talking about, you can't verify. It's just rhetoric. It's dangerous racial rhetoric at that. At a point in time to where tensions are so high on a bunch of sides that there's if you're going to talk about the topic in public as a high public as someone who's seen as a celebrity who has pull in public or whatever, like, you should be trying to slow things down, as I always try to say, right, and clear things up and whatnot, right? Particularly after all the hype of, like, okay, the DEFCON 3 versus the DEFCON 3 and all that type of stuff, and I'm gonna go at the Jews, but I can't be anti-Semitic because I'm come from the Hebrew people, such, like, nah, fam, nah, like, that we got to slow that one all the way down. I'll land my plane right there.
Yeah, and because to Moore's point, you gotta be careful what you say, because it's not like just any one of us. What he's saying is amplified on a high pulpit to where now people can take and misconstrue it. And to me, he didn't really further in the conversation. It was just the same stuff you hear, the same kind of beef that blacks and Jews had during the what was it? How there are a lot of Jews that tend to be landlords, and there are blacks that will rent from them, and they felt that the Jews were doing them bad in terms of slums, things of that nature, right? Or there's other cases where it's just rhetoric that calls a broad brush to paint the whole people as one thing, and not a small segment in that community as one thing. Because, like, for instance, Noam Chomsky, there are a lot of people who don't like Noam Chomsky who's Jewish, but Noam Chomsky doesn't have no issue with his people. It's just Zionism and other stuff, right? And he furthers his conversation in terms of what's going on, and you can differentiate. He carries the conversation. But with Kanye, to racialize, to make it just black and white, that if you're not black, then you're not Jew, to me, it doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it just kind of, it brings it down to a level that the other day we were talking about Black Power and how Black Power kind of carried all the whole thing about the white systemic power structure. To me, it carries on that white systemic power structure, that white people are in power because they're white, and all kinds of old stuff that's being used is just reverse. Now, black people taking on the rhetoric to fit to their agenda, to why they're suffering, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Like the curses. The British Israelis who take on the blessings to say they're Israel because they're blessed, and then how you have certain black Israelites who take on the curse to say they're Israel because they're cursed. And to me, it doesn't propel us anywhere further. It just perpetuates what's been going on since colonialism.
Mm-hmm. Hey, real quick, I just saw that a comment from Plumber on the screen. Like, what did he say anything anti-Semitic? I didn't see that before. Yes, 100% he did, right? And just to clarify, like, so imagine there was a white celebrity that said, I'm gonna go at black people, but I'm not racist because all people come from Africa. Would you consider him racist or no?
Hey, Trump with his tweets, some people consider him racist. There's a dog whistle. It's this, it's that.
I don't think he said anything. I think he was trying to speak. You're talking about the tweet that he put out when he said he's going DEFCON or whatever. Is that what you're talking about?
So there was tweets put out. There was messages put out between him and P. Diddy, etc. And there was one particular message between him and P. Diddy where he was saying he was going to go at the Jewish people or whatnot, but he's not being anti-Semitic because or saying something about the Jewish people is not being anti-Semitic because he's Semitic, etc. Right? And that's why I was saying, like, if a white person said he was going to go at black people, but he's not being racist because all people come from Africa, how would we take that?
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Be an issue, yeah.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I was asking Baran, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, yeah, go ahead, Benson.
All right, so I want to repeat a quote that Kanye said, first of all, in the interview with Tucker Carlson. He said, the people who have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color and told us what it meant to be black, and also the vernacular that we are to have. Now, when you talk about it, people being stripped of their identity, is anybody in this chat don't understand that thought pattern right there? All right, so if it is indeed a revelation, the 12 tribes of Judah or Israel is going to have a record where it's 12,000 in this tribe, 12,000 in that tribe. That means that it's going to be some information that become available to the world where you can say exactly what Jew is what from what tribe. We can't even do that right now.
Because Revelation say that. Father God. You talking about Revelation with the 12,000, 144
from each tribe. I'm saying, do anybody know who a real Jew is? Like, of course, because you got people saying that we are Jews, right? Without no type of verification, no records or anything like that. Not saying that I don't believe that it's possible, but don't nobody really know who a Jew is. And in Revelation, you will see that it's going to eventually be for the world to see who is from what tribe. So what Kanye West is doing, also in Revelation, you got the synagogue of Satan. We also know that the music business is basically owned and dominated by Jewish people. Now, it might not, we could still be in the Jewish family, and our older brothers could be mistreating us. Like you have a scripture where it says his yoke would no longer be on your shoulders or something like that, or far as the people being brothers. So, I mean, I see room for a reconnection to culture, so to speak. That's in line with God, because at the end of the day, Jesus was Jewish. So, I don't think it was taking nothing from being a follower of Christ to recognize that, if our ancestors did come from that particular culture, and that we probably need to get back to that culture. Not necessarily in a sense of salvation, but in a way of living. I don't see nothing really being, black people are lacking as far as culture is, especially when it comes to God. So I know I went all over the place, but man, my main thing was that quote about our identity being stolen and given a color, and I wonder if anybody agree with that.
So, man, let me ask you a question.
I gotta get up out of here. Hold on, Dunamis. I mean, you want to say something before we slide? I'm gonna give you. Hold on, Dunamis. I want to see if Orthodox More want to say something. I'm gonna give it to close it out. Orthodox More, you want to say something on that before we go? I'm gonna pick it up with y'all same brothers when we jump back on again. You muted. You want to say something, Orthodox?
Yeah, I can agree on that point about like having like identity stolen, stripped, given the color, etc. Like, but we're talking about truth and falsehood strangely mixed and whatnot, right? Like, so again, like that part we can research and we can look into and not, but then we got to identify the culture, the people, etc., and like really get into the facts of it, right? Making it emotionally charged after. That's what I'm saying. That's the problem, fam. I don't got the problem with anything true he's saying. I got a problem with it being mixed with falsehood and racialized and colorized and all, and being emotionally charged with the whole thing. Because again, if you're going to be a public figure,
it's so hard to separate it, though. It's so hard to set talking on this stuff here. It'd be hard, and people be on charge. They be amped up. They don't be want to hear nothing, and sometimes people don't want to think clearly. I don't think people know how to really work through it.
I'm not mad at you, bro. Like I've been through the pro black stage myself, right? There's a lot of emotion in it, right? Like there and rightfully so, right? But that's what I'm saying. That's why when if you're gonna have this conversation in the public as a high profile figure, you have to be the one to slow it down at that juncture. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. Thank you so much for jumping on. Jump back on later on. Come on.